Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're taking a deep dive into Eat More, Live Well by Dr. Megan Rossi.
Oh, this is a good one.
It is. It's all about a fresh perspective on plant-based eating,
Mm,
one that's really focused on gut health and diversity
yeah.
and just making eating enjoyable.
Yeah, making it delicious again.
Exactly. And I think what's really cool about Dr. Rossi's approach
Yeah.
is it's not about restriction, it's about
Yeah.
adding in more good stuff.
Right, like more whole plant foods, good for your gut. And that's actually something that I think a lot of people get wrong about plant-based eating. It doesn't have to be all or nothing.
That's such a good point. You don't have to go full vegan.
Exactly. It's not about like suddenly becoming vegan or vegetarian. Dr. Rossi's more about increasing the variety and the quantity of plant-based foods in your diet.
That makes way more sense. It's like, okay, I can still enjoy my steak every now and then,
Exactly.
but I also have to admit I've definitely fallen into the trap of thinking, oh, those soy-based burgers, those are a healthier option.
And you would think that, right?
Yeah. So is that something that she addresses in the book?
Absolutely. So many of those meat alternatives, as healthy as they seem, they're actually heavily processed. And that processing strips away a lot of the natural nutrients and fiber.
So it's like it's almost defeating the purpose.
It is, they're trying to make them taste good, and so they add a bunch of additives, and sometimes you end up with something that's just as bad for your gut as, well, maybe not as bad,
But
but
not as good as you would think.
exactly.
So what does she say we should do instead of relying on those processed substitutes?
Well, she really emphasizes fresh or fermented soy products.
Okay.
Things like tofu and tempeh, even a good miso.
I love miso.
But also, just those good, whole, unprocessed plant foods that we kind of already know are good for us. Fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds,
The
legumes.
closer to their natural state, the better.
The better, exactly.
But she doesn't just stop at eat your veggies, right? There's a whole nother level to it.
Oh, absolutely. She dives deep, especially when it comes to gut health.
Okay, good.
And one of the things that I found really fascinating in the book was this focus on fiber.
Oh, the fiber factor. Tell me more about that.
Right. Because we know it's important, but Dr. Rossi takes it to a whole new level.
All right.
She explains how fiber isn't just, keeping things moving smoothly in our digestive tract.
Yeah.
It actually plays a huge role in feeding those trillions of good bacteria that live in our gut, our microbiome.
So it's like we're feeding our little friends.
Well, exactly. And they're breaking down the fiber that we can't digest, and they release all these beneficial compounds that have an impact on, like, everything.
Our whole system.
Yeah. Our immune system, our mental health, like, everything.
So eating more fiber is kind of like providing a feast for our gut bacteria, and then they, in turn, take care of us.
Mm.
I like that.
Yeah, it's a symbiotic relationship. But here's the thing, our modern diets, they're often seriously lacking in fiber.
Really?
Like, the average person isn't getting enough, far less than what we actually need. And that means our gut bacteria are practically starving.
So are we just talking like add a bowl of bran flakes and call it a day, or?
No. There's this whole other piece that she calls the diversity factor. It's not just about how much fiber we're getting.
Okay.
It's about the different types of plant foods that we're consuming. Because different fibers feed different types of bacteria.
So the more diverse our diet, the more diverse our gut microbiome becomes.
Exactly. And she actually has this concept of 30 servings a week. She challenges readers to incorporate 30 different plant-based foods into their diet each week.
That sounds a little overwhelming at first.
It does, but when she says serving, she's not talking about huge portions. It could be a handful of berries, a small salad, or a few slices of avocado.
Oh, that's totally doable.
It's about those small changes.
Right.
Just expanding the variety.
And I guess that plays into what you were saying earlier about how it's not an all or nothing approach. It's not like I'm only eating these 30 things. It's I'm adding in and I'm getting more variety.
Right, and as you add that variety in, you're naturally going to increase your fiber intake, and that's going to have a positive impact on your gut health.
I'm seeing a pattern here. Now, I have to admit, one of the reasons I sometimes fall back on those processed foods is, well, they just taste good.
Oh yeah, they're designed to taste good.
Right. Salt, sugar, fat, all the good stuff. But is that something that she addresses in the book? Like how to make healthier food taste as appealing?
Absolutely. She talks about how those intense flavors in processed foods, they actually kind of hijack our taste buds.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's like we become less sensitive to the natural flavors of whole foods.
So the more we eat those processed things, the harder it is to appreciate the real
That
stuff.
vicious cycle, you know. But the good news is our taste buds can regenerate.
That is good news.
So as we reduce our sugar and salt intake, those taste buds, they start to recover. And we can start to appreciate like the sweetness of fruit again.
Or like the earthiness of a vegetable.
Exactly. But it does take some effort, you know?
You have to be mindful about it.
And how does she suggest we make that transition?
Well, she talks about gradually reducing the amount of sugar and salt we add to our food.
Just not cold turkey.
No, it's a gradual shift.
That makes more sense.
And she also emphasizes exploring different cooking methods. Like roasting veggies with herbs and spices, grilling tofu with a nice marinade.
That sounds delicious, actually.
It is. You can blend up smoothies with fruits, nuts, seeds. There's so many possibilities.
It's about getting creative in the kitchen.
It is. It's about making healthy eating fun.
I love that. So it's not about deprivation, it's about exploration.
Exactly. And that's what I think makes Dr. Rossi's approach so sustainable. It's about finding joy in the process.
And, I think a lot of people think, oh, healthy eating, it's boring.
Yeah.
But she's really making a case for, like, no, it can be really enjoyable. It can be, and it should be. It's about nourishing our bodies and our minds and our gut, which is, like, so important. Dr. Rossi really emphasizes the importance of food preparation.
Yeah, like actually making those plant-based meals appealing and enjoyable.
Right. And I think it's so interesting how she connects that idea to the bigger picture of, our relationship with food.
Yeah, she doesn't just give you a recipe and say, here you go.
It's deeper than that.
Right, it's a mindset shift.
Right. And she talks about how we've become, so used to quick fixes and these restrictive diets that we've kind of lost sight of just, nourishing our bodies with whole foods.
It's almost like we've turned eating into a chore.
Exactly. It's a battle of willpower instead of a celebration.
Yeah, like food should be something that we enjoy.
Exactly. And that's what's so refreshing about Dr. Rossi's approach. She's like, ditch the diet mentality and focus on building a sustainable relationship with food.
One that actually works for you long term.
Long term, that nourishes your body and your mind.
Okay, I like that.
And she gives a ton of practical advice. I mean, the book is packed with recipes.
Oh, there are recipes.
Over 100.
Wow, okay.
Delicious recipes, too. They all showcase, the variety and just how delicious plant-based eating can be.
So it's more than just salads.
Oh, so much more. Hearty stews, flavorful curries, vibrant grain bowls. She even has desserts.
See, now you're speaking my language. Okay, I'm intrigued.
It's all about making it easy and enjoyable to make that shift.
I feel like for a lot of people, meal planning is the biggest hurdle. I know it is for me.
Yeah, it's a lot of mental energy. But, she even has a 7-day kickstart plan.
Oh, wow, okay.
To get you going. Meal plans, shopping lists, the whole 9 yards.
That takes away so much of the pressure.
It does. It's like, just follow the plan.
Oh.
And speaking of pressure, a lot of people worry that eating healthy means sacrificing flavor.
Right. It's like cardboard and blandness.
It doesn't have to be. Dr. Rossi explains how our palates actually adjust, as we start eating less processed food.
Oh, interesting.
We start to crave those natural flavors. Our taste buds regenerate.
They do?
They do. They're amazing. And they become more sensitive to all those subtle nuances.
Okay, so it's almost like we've dulled our senses with all that processed stuff.
We have, but we can get it back.
That's hopeful. So how do we actually do that?
Well, she suggests gradually reducing the amount of sugar and salt.
Oh, okay.
It's about, like, weaning yourself off of those intense flavors.
Makes sense.
And then you can rediscover what real food tastes like. And she also encourages, like, exploring different cooking methods. Herbs and spices,
Right, like making it fun.
Making it an adventure.
Not a chore.
Exactly. And it's not just about the food itself. It's about the whole mindset, the relationship we have with our bodies.
Yeah, I think that's a big piece that often gets overlooked.
It does. She dedicates a whole section to mindful eating.
Oh, that's so important.
It is. Because it's so easy to just, mindlessly eat, not even paying attention to what we're putting in our mouths.
I'm so guilty of that, especially when I'm stressed.
Right. And she talks about slowing down, savoring each bite, paying attention to our body's cues. Like, are we actually hungry?
Are we full?
Exactly.
I feel like I never know the answer to that question.
Well, mindful eating can help. Because it helps us to prevent overeating. You're
Yeah.
actually tuning into your body. You're honoring those signals.
Okay, so we're actually listening to what our body needs, not
Mm.
just, eating because it's there.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just meal times, too. It's about our overall lifestyle.
Oh, okay. You mean like stress and sleep.
Stress, sleep, exercise, all of it. It's all connected.
Right, because our mental health and physical health are connected too.
They are. And speaking of connection, remember that gut-brain connection we talked about earlier?
Oh, yeah, I was hoping we'd circle back to that. That seems like the most interesting part to me.
It's fascinating. Dr. Rossi explains how our gut microbiome actually influences our mood, our cognition, even our behavior.
Wow, okay, I'm all ears.
So, certain bacteria in our gut, they actually produce neurotransmitters.
Like what, serotonin,
It-
dopamine?
Yes, those are the big ones. And those play a key role in regulating our mood and emotions.
So our gut is talking to our brain.
It is. And that communication can have a huge impact on our mental well-being.
Okay, so are we saying that we can, potentially influence our mood by changing what's going on in our gut?
The research is pointing in that direction.
That's pretty amazing.
It is. It really highlights this idea of food as medicine. It's not just fuel.
It's so much more than that. And it all comes back to diversity. The more diverse our gut microbiome is, the more resilient we are to stress, inflammation, all those things that can negatively impact our mental health.
So it's almost like a more diverse gut equals a more balanced mood.
You got it. And Dr. Rossi is really great about backing up her claims with scientific evidence, but she also emphasizes listening to your own body.
Oh, okay.
Figuring out what works best for you.
Because everyone's different.
Everyone is. There's no one-size-fits-all approach.
Which is why so much of the nutrition advice out there can be so confusing.
It is. It's overwhelming. But at the end of the day, we're our own best experts.
Right. It's so easy to get lost in all the shoulds and shouldn'ts.
Seriously.
But she just cuts through all that noise.
Yeah, and just gets to the basics.
Back to basics. Whole foods. A thriving gut.
And I think what's really effective about her approach is she explains the why behind everything.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just like, do this, don't do that.
It's like, here's how this impacts you.
Exactly.
This is how it makes you feel better. This is how it helps you.
And she makes such a strong case for that connection,
Oh, the gut-brain connection is powerful.
It's like mind-blowing.
It really underscores, the importance of taking care of our gut.
And what we put in it.
Exactly.
What we feed it.
It's almost like she's saying that taking care of our gut is like taking care of our minds as well.
It is. It's all connected.
And that's so empowering. Like, we have more control than we think.
We do. And it all comes back to that idea of diversity. Not just in our food, but in our gut bacteria.
So the more diverse our gut, the more resilient we are to everything, yeah. Stress, inflammation.
All things.
And I think the more we expand our culinary horizons, the more we embrace different flavors and textures, the less likely we are to fall back on those restrictive diets that just don't work long term.
Yeah, because those restricted diets are kind of setting us up for failure.
They are. You're depriving yourself. You're not enjoying it. It's not sustainable.
And honestly, I've noticed in my own life, the more I focus on eating a wide range of foods, the better I feel.
That's awesome.
I have more energy, my mood is more stable, and I'm less likely to crave those processed foods, which I know I shouldn't be eating anyway.
And that's exactly what Dr. Rossi is getting at. It's not about deprivation. It's not about being perfect.
It's about finding what works for you.
Experimenting, having fun with it,
Yeah.
enjoying the journey.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought-provoking question. Considering everything we've discussed today about Dr. Rossi's approach, what's one new plant-based food you're inspired to try this week?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Right? Maybe it's something you've never tried before.
Maybe it's a new variety of something you already like.
Or maybe it's just preparing something in a different way.
It doesn't have to be a huge change, just a little step towards expanding your culinary horizons.
Exactly. So embrace the adventure. Discover all those delicious possibilities that await, because every small step towards a healthier gut is a step towards a healthier and happier you. And that's what it's all about, right?
That's it.
Thanks so much for joining us today.
It was fun.
And until next time, happy eating.